Yeah, well, firstly, credit to Canada. We knew that if we gave them time and allowed them to get quick ball, they were a really dangerous side, and that showed in that first half. They were, they were able to get in behind us and get their offloading game away, and then it becomes really challenging.
I think 31-5 at half-time. Was it still that sort of sense of belief in the group? And I guess how sort of do you assess how the team sort of tried to build a bit more pressure in the second half?
Yeah, I thought the second half, we did come out with a bit more intent and we had a bit more ball. We had so little ball in that first half as well, which obviously was challenging. We managed to keep the ball for longer periods of time in that second half. And the girls, they never at any point said sort of, stepped off. They kept stepping up for the full 80 minutes. So credit to them for that.
Pesi, from a player's perspective, I think it's world number 1 and 2 in back-to-back weeks. Where do you think this group sort of sits at the end of this World Cup, heading into what's going to be a very crucial 4-year period with a culmination of a World Cup in Australia in 29?
I mean, when you compare the two sides, you're looking at the Wallaroos, who are such a young group of girls. You've got game drivers who are 20 years old, and going against such experienced players in that Canada squad just shows that we are still building. We've got like Sammy, Faitala, Katie Orr, who are 20, 19-year-olds, and to put a lot of pressure on them to make calls in a game like that, it just shows that we are building to something big. And by the time we, regroup for our Rugby World Cup in 2029, that's the group that we're going to look to in terms of being at peak.
Just on that core, what needs to happen to make sure that sort of group of players that's been sort of brought through the group of 23 and under are at their sort of best for 29 and really pushing to go 1 or 2 steps further and make a real sort of push in that 29 World Cup on home soil?
We need continuity. We need to be able to become full-time. We're not a full-time program right now. You're going against... We're looking at a group of players who are young mums, who are balancing looking after their kids, people who are working full-time, working 9 to 5, then having to back it up with back-to-back trainings till 9 p.m. and then having to repeat that the next day. I know it sounds cliche, but we do need to be invested in so that we can produce good rugby. But looking at the age and experience-wise compared to Canada and us, we're far from it. But I have confidence that building into a Rugby World Cup 2029, we know that we're going to be good because we've got such a young side that's going to have so much experience by the time we get to that point.
G'day guys, Finn Morden from Rugby Pass. Joe, you mentioned last week after the England game that the scoreboard maybe didn't tell the full story. Do you think that was the case again tonight? There are still heaps of positives to take out of this one.
Yeah, there are still positives, but I think that first half, I thought Canada played some excellent rugby. They really did challenge us. We kind of knew what was coming, but we just weren't able to slow it down. So I thought the second half was a better reflection. But on the whole, I thought Canada came out that first 40, and it's probably the best 40 they've put in.
And I know it was early on, but Desi's try, the character, I guess, of the team to bounce back after a very early try. Do you think they would have been able to bounce back in that manner against a team like Canada 12 months ago or 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think the character they've shown, and even coming out at half-time, we're down, by quite a few tries at that point, and it's easy for a team to roll over, but they didn't, and then the impact of the bench coming on, and that's what I mean around the character of the group. They were defending, there was one try in it at times on the try line, and it's easy for a team at that point to roll over, and they never did.
And do you have any advice for whoever the next coach is of the Wallaroos to carry this team forward and get the best out of them?
Well, just kind of picking up on Bess's point, this group is... the spine of this team is really young, so there's a real opportunity for them if they can keep them together until 2029. But equally, there has to be, we've seen the growth, and you guys have seen the growth over the period of time we've had that opportunity for camps and connection together, and that has to continue. The investment has to step up post this tournament to allow them to be real, genuine contenders come 2029. And for me, anyone coming in, the core of this group, just using the leaderships within it, using all the culture and the energy, and allowing those players to go out and express themselves, because when they get the opportunity to do that, they're a really strong side.
And Pesi, your first World Cup as a captain of the Wallaroos team, of course, bit of injuries, but all 2 games as well. What have you made of the experience as a leader of this team on this type of stage?
Yeah, it takes a lot of self-reflection just to see how I can, put my best foot forward. Ultimately, I like to perform, and that makes me feel good about myself. But Joe's taught me an element of, you're not always going to have a good day, and so it's just trying to, I guess, get that skill of how can I still uplift and empower my team even if I'm not performing. And that's a really hard thing to do, but once you gain respect from your players, they'll look to you and they don't have to follow action. They just need someone just to pick them up. But I've got a great leadership group alongside me. You've got the likes of Chance and Leanie who step up and people turn to look to them, and we're building something great there. And leadership is something that doesn't sit within senior players. It's about trying to empower everyone to be their own leaders in their respective areas.
Thanks, guys.
Hi Joe, Sarah Rendell from The Guardian. Now that your time with Australia is over, what are you going to take from this amazing group of players into your next potential role, and kind of what have you learned from them?
I've learned so much from them as a group. Kind of the diversity within this group is really special, and just kind of hearing all their backgrounds and kind of all their different journeys, as Bessie alluded to get to this point has been amazing. And I've learned a lot from them in terms of obviously kind of supporting and creating and developing our leadership group, but that being a real two-way thing. And I think we've all learned off each other the way we've built those relationships, which has been really nice. And obviously, when we started off, I was the first full-time head coach, so it was kind of, we really had to build the programme up, we had to get staff in, so all of that you take an awful lot of learnings from.
And you've kind of touched upon it there, but is investment over this next kind of 4-year cycle for the Wallaroos the absolute key to kind of nail that? Yeah,
I believe so, because the group are there, but what they also need through the investment, to be specific as well, is the Super W competition. They need more games. They're nowhere near at the same number of games as what the teams are getting in the Northern Hemisphere. And Canada obviously got a huge amount of players that play in the PWR over here, and that puts them in a really good place. So they need more games, they need more competitive games. At the moment, these girls are playing more test matches this year than they are club games, and they're learning through test matches, and what they need to be doing is learning through Super W, and I think that's really important to be able to expand that competition.
Thank you so much.
Next question. No more questions from the floor?
Hi, Mike Henson at BBC Sport. I just wondered, after playing world number ones, world number twos, how did they differ? What did you make of that experience? The style of play, what was it like out there?
That's directed at me because I was on the field. Look, today we saw how fast Canada can play, and their athleticism and how well they're able just to run through us. Ultimately they will be better, and I feel like that one thing that contributes to their athleticism is they get to train more often, they get to be in high intensity environments and programs, and so they get the consistency and the luxury of that, whereas we don't, and you can see that we probably struggle to keep up with them across the park. And I just think that's an easy thing to fix, and that just as a self-reflection we'll go back and try and work on that ourselves.